Thanks for logging on to myfoxhurricane.com. Here we are at the peak of the hurricane season, September 10th. And of course, we do have a system that we are watching, Tropical Storm Francine. You look at the enhanced satellite loop and you're seeing this big area of convection here. This is actually kind of sprung off of Francine, so that is not really of any concern. It's just some heavy rain. The actual center or the storm is over here, and we're seeing this kind of reconsolidating itself. You're seeing more of that deeper convection near the center of this storm. Hurricane reconnaissance flights still finding that this system, it's getting better organized, but it hasn't really seen those winds increase all that much. So we're still holding right there at that tropical storm. 65-mile-an-hour winds currently moving to the north-northeast at 8 miles an hour. There's only been little minor tweaks here and there to the forecast. What we saw yesterday is a trend that was kind of pushing it towards the west a little bit. Through the overnight hours, we've seen that track starting to shift back towards the east a little bit. So there's that current forecast track. Right now, you do see this as a Category 1. Notice you go from 90 to 85, but it's still actually expected that this could be either a high-end Category 1 or a minimal Category 2. So right at that 95-mile-an-hour range, that's where we cross over. So this still could see those winds approaching 100 miles an hour. Just because you don't see it on the icons here doesn't mean that we're now expecting this to only be a Category 1. It's just simply the spacing between the icons. It could actually happen in between those times. So what exactly is steering this storm? We've got this ridge of high pressure was actually protecting us here in Florida. Then you have the jet stream here, and we have what's called a shortwave trough. That's that quick little dip in the jet stream. As that is moving along, that is helping to pick Francine up, pull it to the north, and is eventually going to kind of work its way on towards that northeasterly direction. So that is the steering currents for this. So really a big part of this is the stronger the storm becomes, the more likely it is to actually shift more towards that easterly direction because it'll be influenced by the trough even more. So as you look at the various computer models, you are seeing a bit more of that clustering, pushing it a bit further to the east. Yesterday, we had this kind of all centered right in this area, and there's been that shift probably about 30 to 40 miles to the east with this. So as you look at some of our various computer models, the European, which is in white, we've got the GFS on our own exclusive Fox model in green. So as we go through time here, you're still seeing them fairly tightly clustered, but compared to yesterday, you are seeing maybe a little bit more of a spread in this, not only east and west, but as far as time is concerned. So you've got the Fox model a little bit faster, you've got the European and the GFS a little bit slower, and then you also notice the European is actually still kind of pushing us a bit further to the west. All the other computer models are really starting to trend a little bit more towards the right. So looks like landfall time with this would be sometime mid to late afternoon as we head into tomorrow, and then continuing to work its way on towards the north and the northeast. So you can see those very heavy areas of rain and that banding. That will be working its way onshore as early as tomorrow morning across the Louisiana coastline. The other thing that you may notice with this is on that southern side. You're actually getting some of that drier air that's starting to wrap around this system. And that will be a big question as we go through the next 24 hours or so. How much of this dry air gets entrained into the system and starts to affect it? It's all being caused by some stronger winds. So we're going to start seeing more wind shear. That will help to drive some of this drier air in. So that will certainly slow down some of that intensification process. We have to see how much it slows it down. Does it start to weaken the storm? And how does it affect the overall structure of the storm as we go through the next 24 hours? But as far as the Fox model, looking at the wind field with this, there you see that pink shade. That is still right around that 100 mile an hour. So Fox model indicating this could be right at that Category 2, a low end Category 2, just prior to landfall. Then we have to see as it's making landfall, does that dry air start to affect this system and actually help to weaken it a little bit. But as far as that storm surge along the coastline, 5 to 10 feet right from that center point to the right-hand side, to that eastern side of the storm. Up towards New Orleans, they could see that storm surge 3 to 5 feet in that area as well. Now, a couple of other areas we're actually watching in the tropics, well out into the Atlantic Ocean. This first one, that orange shade, that is actually Invest 92, about a 40% chance that we could see some development over the next 7 days. A little bit higher chance with the one that's further out into the Atlantic. So you're looking at these two areas, so you can certainly see that flare up of convection with this, some of that drier air which is sitting off the coastline of Africa. That's that Saharan dust that we've been talking so much about that has been limiting many of these systems in the eastern Atlantic. This has found that little spot outside of the dust and outside of some of those stronger winds. So we've got lighter winds in the atmosphere as this continues to work its way onto the west. It does look like, at least for the short term, it'll have conditions that are conducive, light winds in the atmosphere, but you do see some of the stronger winds once it works its way over towards, say, the Lesser Antilles, heading into the western Atlantic. But it is something that we have to watch. You see more and more of these computer models kind of shifting a little bit further to the south. Could affect some of these islands if it holds together. So this is something we will continue to monitor, we'll continue to watch. And of course, we're also watching Tropical Storm Francine, which is expected to become Hurricane Francine prior to landfall sometime late tonight into tomorrow. That could become a hurricane, so we'll have the latest on that as well.